Hey, welcome to another video. A few months back, we did a video on the outdoor space. We put in a pond, we did pavers, hot tub, but there's still one area that needs a little work, and that is the outdoor kitchen. Over here, a bar with beer on tap.
Hey buddy, give me a pint of the cold one.
Over here's where you can wash your hands if they get all dirty. Just imagine right here is a barbecue grill. You just gotta use your imagination. Pretend it's there. Flat top. You know, for those like smash burgers or pancakes. Right here we might do a drink fridge. Now we're working with an awesome company called All Things Barbecue. They make this slick system that makes it easy for people like me who have never done an outdoor kitchen before, do an outdoor kitchen. And I thought, if I'm learning for the first time, well, you should learn for the first time, so we're just all gonna be in this together. So follow along, see how we do it, and then let us know in the comment sections how bad we screwed it up. Hopefully, we will not screw it up. Don't know what I'm doing, but we'll see. All right, the first thing you got to do when you're building any sort of outdoor kitchen is tear the siding off your house. That's probably not true, but in this case it actually is, because our outdoor kitchen is going to have a sink and we need to figure out how we're going to get plumbing to said sink. Now, right on the other side of this wall that I'm ripping the siding off of is our kitchen sink. So I was pretty positive if I could just open this up, I could find the drain line as well as the water line and then just run it through that wall over to where we need it for our outdoor sink. So I started ripping the siding off, I took off the moisture barrier, and then I ripped off the sheathing, and that's when I found out that the plumbing is a lot higher up than I originally anticipated. Now the water line doesn't really matter because you're not dealing with any sort of slope when it comes to the water. It's pressurized. Found that pretty quick. It's right there. The drain line, however, is over here, and there's just no way I could get the proper amount of slope from our outdoor sink to that drain line and have it work. So after tearing all of the siding off of our house, well, I'm back to square one. So I took a few quick measurements and then I crawled underneath our house, which in hindsight, this is what I should have done first. I found the water lines right there, and then I found this main drain line right on the other side of where we're going to put our outdoor sink, which means I didn't need to rip the siding off my house at all. Oopsie doopsie, just created a big mess for nothing. We'll worry about that later. In the meantime, we cleared off the entire pad in preparation for our cabinets. Now the cabinets are pretty slick. We worked with this company called All Things Barbecue. Now you send them all the measurements for your space. They do a 3D rendering of what you want your outdoor kitchen to look like, and then they custom build these cool steel frames that are basically the skeletal structure for your cabinets. All you have to do is take them off the pallet and bolt them together. They come in manageable sized pieces, so we depalletized them and carried them to the back patio. Now, we could have looked at the schematics they sent to know exactly where all these pieces went, but what fun would that be? So Craig and I really just started guessing. We put that first corner piece in, that one was pretty obvious, and then we thought maybe this piece went right here, because it was next on the pallet. So we just stuck it right there. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle. Not to spoil the plot of this episode, but spoiler alert, it does not go there. Then we brought over this piece and we were like, well, maybe this piece goes right here. Not to ruin it again, but that piece doesn't go there. So we moved that first piece out of the way because it became obvious that that doesn't go there. And then the second piece, we thought, well, maybe that scoots down there. And then this piece goes in here. Well, that next piece was correct, but then the third piece was not. It definitely doesn't go there. That doesn't work with our grill cutout. So then we were like, oh, well, maybe this piece goes over here in the corner. Now remember, we could have just stopped and looked at the flippin' schematic, but we're stubborn and we like to waste time. Turns out that piece does go in the corner over there, so that was correct. There was just one problem. This is the vent for the downdraft from our kitchen. And it happens to be right in the way of the frames for our cabinets. And when I say right in the way, I mean like literally right in the way. So add that to the list of things to do. We're going to have to reroute the downdraft vent. Once we got those first 3 pieces in what we thought was the correct position, we brought over the 4th piece. This one was kind of obvious because it had this nice notch to go around that post. We stuck that in place. Then this piece also had a notch to go around this post, so that was pretty obvious. So we slid that into place. This is going to make up our kegerator mini fridge bar area right there. Then once we had those, there was just one piece left, which means that this piece has to go in the only available hole, and this is the framework for our grill and double burner. So we stuck that in place. Once we had all the pieces in the correct place, all you really do is bolt them together. They come with these handy little threaded clips. You put those on one side of the frame and you insert a bolt, and then you just tighten it down. Now, we worked in sections. We bolted like 2 pieces together, and then once you get them all bolted together, they have these leveling feet, so you start leveling them out. And we started closest to the house because that's going to be the lowest to the ground. So we just barely raised that up at all. And then we just worked our way down the row of cabinet frame pieces, leveling them as we went. Now on camera, this looks like it was a pretty quick process, and not that it took a long time, but there was a lot of fiddling, raising this foot, lowering that foot, getting the front a little bit higher, getting the back a little bit lower. Pretty soon we had those first 2 frame pieces exactly where we wanted them. So we bolted together the last 2 frame pieces using those clips again, little ratchet action. As you can see, sometimes you have to actually climb inside the frames. Then we leveled those second 2 pieces to the first 2 pieces. I realized that a hammer underneath the frame worked really good to lift it up with one hand, and then you can kind of adjust the leveling feet with the other hand. Once we had those 2 leveled to the first 2, then we just slid in this middle section, which didn't have any leveling feet because it just kind of hangs on the frames on either side. We used a few clamps to hold it in place, and we bolted that to everything else. Now this entire long run of cabinets is completely constructed, and it was a lot faster than if I tried to build them myself. Then the last thing we had to do was hook those small 2 sections together for our bar area. This was a lot easier because it was just 2 frame pieces instead of 5 pieces. Once we had that completely hooked together, I made sure that it was nice and level because the concrete pad does slope, and then we had to go run some errands. One of them was picking up the stone that we will eventually use to clad the entire outside of the outdoor kitchen. So we loaded that in the back of my truck along with about 12 bags of mortar mix to hang the stone. And then we drove home and realized the guy was really nice and loaded it into the truck with a forklift, but here we are without a forklift and we had to get it out of the truck. So what do you do when you don't have a forklift? You use your hand forks. That's just a fancy way of saying we did it all by hand into a somewhat neat pile on the ground because we needed the truck to go pick up more supplies. Now I know I did a time lapse of this, but it took about a half an hour to unload all that stone, and by the end of it, well, I was tired. Then we went to the big box store and we had to pick up some cement board because before we put the stone on, we have to clad the entire outside in this Durarock cement board. So we picked that up, went back to the house, and then before we got any of that other stuff done, I decided we should probably actually rerun this vent for the downdraft unit in the kitchen before we forget and make it really hard to access. So I got this run of flexible ducting. I drilled a new hole just to the right of the old one. This is going to go through the wall and into a cabinet in the kitchen right below the downdraft unit. I stuck in this little elbow, connected it inside the house so that it was hooked up to the downdraft. I hooked the flexible ducting up with just a few zip ties to keep it out of the way and routed it out around the corner. Installed. We also needed to do a little bit of electrical work because both the grill and the double burner have electric starts. So we had to run electricity over to them. And while I was at it, I thought it might be nice to have a few extra outlets above the countertop. You know, if you want to plug in a crock pot or a blender or charge your phone or Bluetooth speaker. So we started cutting holes in my house and running wires every which way. Now, this is a very DIY homeowner electrical job, so all you professional electricians out there, don't judge us too much. I'm fairly confident that the house will not burn down. So after getting under the house and running wires to all the appropriate places, we installed plugs on the inside of our framing. Yes, these are not technically exterior plugs, but don't worry, they're going to be completely enclosed inside the cabinet and not exposed to the elements at all. Again, kind of a DIY job. But don't worry, the ones that were above the cabinets, we did use exterior plug setups, so those are nice and protected. And then finally, after getting all of that busy work out of the way, we were ready to clad the outside of our cabinet boxes in this cement board. Now this step is pretty straightforward. You just take a sheet of the cement board, you slap it against the frame, you use a Sharpie or a pencil to trace out everywhere you need to cut off some excess material or cut out an opening for our stainless steel inserts that we're going to put on the lower part of the cabinets. Once you got that all traced out, you take it over to the yard. Now I started out by putting the cement board up on a couple sawhorses, but then I quickly realized that as I cut into it, the cement board wasn't really supported that well and it started to bow in the middle. So that's when I decided just to buck up, not worry about my knees or my back, and cut everything on the grass. The grass worked great because it supports the entire sheet as you're cutting out all of the holes. I used this grinder, which worked really well to cut out the holes, but as you can see, it created a lot of dust. So definitely make sure you wear a mask, put in your isotunes, put something over your eyes like sunglasses or safety glasses, or maybe just a couple pieces of duct tape, you know, anything that works to protect your eyeballs, and get to cutting. You also got to be careful because some of these pieces are a little brittle, as you can see. Once I had my cutouts all done, you take it back over to your steel frames, you slap it up there, make sure it fits, and then we just use these self-tapping metal screws to go right through the Durarock into the steel frame, and boom, first sheet is installed. And then you basically just repeat that step over and over again until you have the entire thing clad in that cement board. I'd take the measurements over off the frames, walk over to the yard, use this grinder wheel to cut everything out, completely douse myself in cement board dust, which I hear is very good for the skin. Then I'd carry the pieces back over, and I actually had Craig start screwing them in place so that I could move on to the next piece. With Craig screwing and me cutting, well, we had the entire thing clad pretty quick. I'm going to show you a bunch of extra footage of this because, well, I film everything and it's a shame just to leave it on my phone and not actually include it in the video. So here you go. A little bit more of me endlessly cutting and installing cement board. Is there anything you guys want to talk about while I show you this pointless footage? How's life? Are you taking enough time for yourself? You can't just go all the time. If you're going to be the best version of you, you got to make sure to carve out time each and every day to sit down and actually, okay, we got to move on.
So if nothing else, we've made quite a mess. So I think we're on the right track. I gotta say, this whole system is pretty darn handy. It didn't take too long to get the frames in place and leveled out. We're starting to cover everything with the cement board, which is pretty easy as well. You just slap it up there, trace it out, cut it to size. Got the whole front done. So the back's really gonna go super fast because there's no cutouts on that, and we still have the bar to do. We got the electrical ran, we got the venting rerouted for the downdraft in the kitchen. We still got to figure out plumbing for the sink, but my friend Derek, who's a plumber, should be stopping by at any point to help us with that. We're well on our way. Back to work.
Before we made things too hard to access, I decided to be a nice guy and drill some access holes for our plumbing. Now this is going straight through the house into the crawl space. I drilled 1 hole for the drain line, 2 holes for the water line, so when the plumber shows up, he should be able to just run those lines right through there, hook up under the house, and connect to the sink. We got a little midsummer downpour for a second, but that didn't stop us from cladding the entire backside in that concrete board. I just kind of free-handed some little filler pieces at the top to make up for that slope of the cabinets, and pretty soon we had that entire section completely covered in cement board, and it was looking pretty decent. With our cement board all hung on the back of the cabinet, I could finish setting up that reroute for the downdraft vent. So I bought this little vent thing, stuck it through there, hooked it up on the inside, and we were good to go. Also, that rain kind of made me think that maybe I should just stop and button this siding up before it really starts raining and we have a bigger problem. I noticed that a few of the boards I took off were a little rotted out from 25 plus years of use, so I also took this opportunity to replace them with brand new pieces of siding, which I will at some point paint to match the other ones. And just like that, my pointless mistake of ripping the siding off is, for the most part, fixed. I also decided that while I'm doing all this electrical work, it might be kind of nice to have another exterior outlet towards the end of the counter space. You know, you never know when you're outside and you just want to plug something in. So I just really quickly installed another exterior plug and ran all the electrical on the inside of the cabinets. Then we just had the little bar area to clad. Now this is going to be a little different because it's actually going to have an overhanging bar. So once we got the cement board on there, I also had to add these braces to support our countertop. So I just traced out the shape of the brace, made sure it was right on one of the steel frame supports so I had something to anchor it to. And then I used a level to make sure it was perfectly in line with the top of the counter and screwed it in place. Now, you'd probably only need like 3 of these, but I decided to go overboard and put 5 because we're going to do concrete countertops and, well, concrete weighs a lot. Once I traced out the shape of the brackets, I just cut it out in place with the grinder. And as you can see, these things are nice and sturdy. In fact, I might have to just leave these 2 uncovered so I have a place to do bar dips. No, that's silly. Pretty soon I had all 5 of those brackets cut out and installed, and we were ready to move on to cladding the front of the bar area. Are you tired of seeing me install cement board yet? Because I'm sure tired of installing it at this point. I mean, I could move on. I'm in complete control. I'm the one editing this video. I could decide not to show you every single piece of cement board going up. But then it kind of makes me cutting it out and installing it pointless. If I'm not doing it for you, who am I doing it for? Okay, all the cement board was installed. After that, we had to add some vents on the back side where the grill and the flat top and the double burner are going to be. Apparently, you want to be able to vent out those areas in case there's any sort of gas buildup. I mean, I guess if the gas builds up in there and ignites, your entire counter space could blow up. I don't think that's going to happen, but I also didn't want to take the chance, so we went ahead and added some venting. Although now that I talk about it, an exploding cabinet would make really good content and probably get a lot of views. Might have to take these vents off and plug the holes back up. Probably not. And look at that. In less than 20 minutes, we had all of our cabinets installed, completely clad with that cement board, and we were ready to drop in our lower inserts. But not before taking a break to enjoy an ice-cold glass of homemade cider. Yummy. I gotta tell you, after years and years of building custom cabinets and having to build every single piece, part, component, it's pretty nice to do a set of cabinets where everything is pre-built and you just gotta slide it into the openings. I mean, All Things Barbecue has everything you need. They got the frames for the cabinets, and then they have all these cool stainless steel inserts so you can really customize your space exactly how you want it. It's really spoiling me for traditional cabinet building. Now, the people at All Things Barbecue gave us a really smart tip. They said you should remove the little plastic stuff on the stainless steel just around the edges before you install it, because it's a real pain to get off after you clad the entire thing in stone. So I took an X-Acto knife and all the pieces that had that plastic wrap, I just, cut a little bit off the outside. Then you just grab the inserts and you stick them in your hole. That sounded weird and funny. You slide the boxes into... Okay, anyways, once we got the unit in there, we shimmed it up to make sure that it was nice and level, as you can see here. Perfect. And then you just add some screws around the inside perimeter. Now this is our dry storage cabinet, and it has this rubber gasket that I really didn't want to damage with the screw or the driver head. So I just stuck a putty knife in between the screw and the driver to protect that rubber gasket. I'll show you a close-up of what that looks like here. And that way I don't rip up that rubber gasket as I'm installing the dry pantry storage. I just thought of that on the spot. Pretty good, huh? Then, once your unit's installed, you just add your drawers. The one thing I don't like about this is they use flippin' side mount drawer slides. Ugh, disgusting. Then you plop on your doors, which have a nice click fit, so everything is sealed. I'm gonna put all sorts of stuff out here, like 6 packs of soda and salt and pepper. Once we had the dry pantry storage installed, then we just installed this general storage area. It's got some drawers on the bottom where you can put, anything you want. And I probably should have reversed those handles because I don't know how I'm going to get those drawers back open. But there's a nice paper towel holder on the top, so that's kind of cool. And then under the sink, it's just a door. You just stick it on there, and then it's just a big void under there. So really, you got lots of storage and access to everything. Right next to that, there's this cool insert that's a garbage and recycling pull-out, like you'd have in your kitchen. So you got a place to put your soda cans and your garbage. Pretty snazzy. Then under the grill, it's just some doors, so that's just a big open access area there. And then under the flat top, well, it's just a small bank of drawers and then another open access area. So really, in this one little run of outdoor kitchen, you've got a gazillion storage places. My old grill, well, it just had a shelf, and I didn't even leave stuff out there. I would just set stuff while I was grilling. Now the possibilities are endless. Around the kegerator and the mini fridge, they have these nice stainless steel trim pieces. They create a perfect edge to bring your stone right up against. You just have to cut them to the right size. So I grabbed my metal chop saw, marked them, and I cut them down. This part's always so satisfying because when you cut wood, there's not usually sparks. And if there are sparks, well, it means that you did something terribly, terribly wrong. Or that's not wood and you should walk away. Anyways, pretty soon I had all those stainless steel trim pieces cut down to the right size, and then all you gotta do is screw them in place. Woohoo! Now in this next shot, I don't want you to focus on me drilling, but I want you to focus on that glass of cider sitting right on the edge of the... Oh, jeez. Anywho, after installing all of our stainless steel trim pieces, that was pretty much it for getting our lower cabinets ready to be clad in stone. And I have to say, the whole process was pretty straightforward and simple. I was a little intimidated because we have never done anything like this before. I've always wanted an outdoor kitchen. They look so nice and fancy, but I didn't know how the heck I was supposed to do it. But the folks at All Things Barbecue made the process so easy to manage. You should check them out with the link in the video description.
All right, Well, we got all of our stainless steel frames in place. We got them clad in that cement board. We got all of our stainless steel lower cabinets in. So the next step is going to be concrete countertops, which is video number 2. And then after that, we got to clad everything in stone, drop in our appliances, and we're going to have ourselves an outdoor kitchen. Huge thanks to All Things Barbecue. Make sure you check out their link in the video description. And yeah, until next time. Oh, if you're wondering what's in my shirt, it's just a puppy. Meet Maple. Hey, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. But not this kind of Squarespace. Not this kind of Squarespace. Not even this kind of Squarespace. No, I'm talking about the Squarespace that allows you to make professional looking websites, and you don't even have to be a web designer. You see, Squarespace is this really cool website. If you need a website, you get on there, you pick a template, and then you customize it to fit your needs. And all their templates are customizable, so if it's not exactly what you want, well, you start with a template and then you make it what you want. It couldn't be easier. And they got cool features, like the fact that you can buy your own domain names right from Squarespace. You can take credit cards through the Squarespace app, and it updates your quantity automatically on your website. So if you're selling stuff in person, you don't have to keep track of quantity in 2 different places. You heard this whole AI buzz that's going around? Well, Squarespace hopped on board with that too, and are doing some pretty sweet things with AI. Just check this out. Squarespace's Blueprint AI, it's basically this website builder. You get a fully custom website in just a few steps. They use basic information about your industry, goals, and personality to generate premium quality content and personalized design recommendations. I know, crazy. So, if you're looking for a way to build a professional looking website and you're not a web designer, I suggest you check out Squarespace. Couldn't be easier. Just go to squarespace.com/bourbonmothwoodworking and you're going to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, or just use the coupon code bourbonmothwoodworking at checkout. There's a link somewhere right there and down in the video description. And a huge thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.